It's the Nuggets Rockers Ball. It's the Nuggets Rockers Ball. Big 12 Nation, where are you at? You are looking live at my garage, where if you are familiar with my channel, so much of the magic happens. I am Clint Foster, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Biggest 12, okay? First episode. So, hey, things may be a little janky at times. We're going to do our best. We're going to roll with the punches. This is my first StreamYard that I've ever hosted, but it's going to be amazing, all right? This show is going to be a lot of fun. On a normal show day, we're going to play a lot of games. We're going to talk a lot of Big 12 football. I want to hear from you, your thoughts, your opinions, okay? Which, by the way, Jackson Johnson, thanks you so much for being first in the chat here. This is going to be a great time. And actually, got a lot of fun guests that I'm getting lined up for our next couple shows. If any of y'all are fans of the Purple Menace podcast, RIP Purple Menace podcast, aka Toad Talk, my good friend and former co-host Billy Wessels will be joining us next week. This is going to obviously be a slightly TCU slanted podcast, but I love all my Big 12 brethren, Oklahoma and Texas notwithstanding. So we're going to talk about everyone. We're going to give everyone some love. We're going to talk a little trash. We're going to have a lot of fun. So let's get this thing rolling right away. Okay, and Jackson wants to know off the bat, what do you think about Houston playing their first Big 12 conference game against TCU? What do I think about it? Well, I love any opportunity to get the old Southwest Conference band back together. I'm actually going to be at that game with several of my friends from TCU heading down. Never seen a game at Houston Stadium, so your boy's going to be chilling in the third ward on Saturday. Prayers up. Okay, it's going to be a blast. Going to have a lot of fun. But yeah, Houston, I mean, we'll get to this whenever we start previewing the week 3 action. Houston's been a little bit of an enigma to me this season. I mean, they won a game against UTSA, which was far from a gimme. And that was a game that I actually thought UTSA was going to win. And then you come back right the next week and, you know, short of a late game rally that takes the game into overtime, you get clobbered by Rice for the majority of the game. And yes, that's a crosstown rival in Rice, but that's not one that usually Houston struggles with. So what Houston is TCU going to get on Saturday? I'd imagine we're going to get the best version of Houston. And just as big of a question is what TCU is Houston going to get? Because, again, we'll talk about this too. There's a lot of panic button smashing happening in Fort Worth and in Horned Frog Nation, or at least in my circle, because the Frogs have not looked anywhere near to the level of what a lot of us were expecting going into this season. And Jackson is absolutely right. The last time that TCU and Houston played, it was the Texas Bowl 2007. Remember it well. That was Andy Dalton's redshirt freshman season. Andy Dalton ended up being the MVP of that game. And Case Keenum was the quarterback for Houston. Man, that was if you can find that one on YouTube, that was quite a back and forth game. It's certainly a lot more uncomfortable for TCU fans than a lot of us would like to remember. Yes, the University of Houston did lose to a side dish. They absolutely did do that, losing the Bayou Bucket to Rice. So let's first look back at the action that was in week 2. We'll talk a little bit about some of that. We might have a guest joining us today. We'll see if he's able to get with us at least here in the next 30 minutes. That remains to be seen. But in the meantime, we'll look at the action from last week and kind of recap, kind of debrief a lot of what we saw. Which, by the way, if you're subscribed to my channel, which you absolutely should be, if you're not, that's just Clint Foster Comedy. Search for Clint Foster on YouTube. You'll find my channel. Do a lot of Big 12 themed sketches, and this time of year, a lot of TCU themed stuff. But one of my ongoing series is TCU fans during X game. For week 2, it was not only TCU fans, it was Big 12 fans. So I got a lot of quick hitter reactions from a lot of you fellow Big 12ians out there and what y'all might have been thinking or feeling watching your games, which we're going to talk about. Yes, losing to Rice does mean you're cooked. Steamed, preferably, or fried, possibly. Certainly cooked in some manner or another. So first game we got to talk about from last week. Got to talk about that Kansas-Illinois game, man. Love to see it. Anytime the Big Ten goes down, it's a good day, as far as I'm concerned. And Kansas, very much here to stay. That's a team I am certainly glad not to see on TCU's schedule this year. Jalen Daniels is a very good quarterback. They got a lot of talent on that team. You'd have to think that Lance Leipold is probably at the top of Michigan State's list, along with Chris Kleiman. They're probably going to the Sunflower State. Sunflower State? Is that what it is? Kansas? Sunflower State. the square one, right? They're probably looking at Kansas for one of their next coaches to replace Mel Tucker, I'd imagine. And yeah, I totally agree with you, Jackson. Kansas looks like a contender. Now, and we'll talk about, the team in question that many people are saying is back. You'd have to think that they're the favorites to land that first stop, that first seed in Arlington. And then it's a matter of who's going to be the other team. Is it going to be Kansas? Is it going to be Kansas State? Is it going to be Oklahoma? UCF's probably out of the conversation now with John Rice Plumlee getting injured. Could TCU back our way? A lot. This is a very wide open league. This is going to be a fun year because so many of us are so equally inept in certain ways. Yes, I absolutely agree. Brian, please subscribe, smash the like button, do all of those YouTube-y things. We got a brand new show starting up here, trying to build it into something amazing every single Tuesday night. And I do apologize, by the way, starting a little bit later today than I intended. For those of you who don't know, I don't do this exclusively as a living. I'm also a high school teacher, a high school history teacher, and I'm coaching middle school football this year. So I came fresh from practice, homeboys. Okay, homeboys and girls. And I was firing up this thing, trying to figure out how the StreamYard works. So that's why I'm just wearing a cowboy shirt. Go boys. This is another team I'm trying not to get too excited about too soon this year. Long suffering, broken hearts many times over. But yeah, so at least for the first 2 months of the show here, at least until the end of October, I'll be coming straight from practice. So I'll be getting on live just as soon as possible. But I do appreciate your patience. Yeah, I agree with you, Jackson. I hope game day goes to Lawrence again. I wouldn't know off the top of my head when the best games to do that would be, like where they fall. But yeah, it would appear that Kansas, they're going to rack up some wins again. And everybody, it's so funny, everybody loves Kansas being good at football because that's adorable and that's fun. But we hate them being good at basketball, right? That's tired. That's old news. Hey, Clint, Owen, Will, I do understand that you've been doing a lot of promoting of the first ever show. Props to you, Will ND. Big thanks. I was actually talking to many of y'all probably know Joey Foster, no relation. I was like, hey, how do I share this link? How do I make sure that people know to watch this stream? And he's like, oh, here it is. He's been promoting it all day. I'm like, what? Anyway, while I was administering a test on the Age of Exploration, Will's out here pimping the show. We love to see it. Yes, it's DeWaffles. It is me. Yes, on live. This is going to be a new thing every single Tuesday. Maybe. Okay. Yeah. So again, this is a new thing that I'm going to get used to is managing this chat. Jackson has given us a couple of options for game day at Kansas, potentially that Oklahoma game on October 28th. I mean, yeah, Kansas State was the first one that came to my mind, November 18th. But, you also got to think about what else is happening around the nation. I mean, I would have thought that TCU Colorado would have been a perfect game day location. I mean, we had big noon kickoff, but would have been a good game for game day. But they ended up North Carolina, South Carolina. So, you got to think about what else is happening. Where else can Lee Corso be putting heads on and doddering around? Bless his soul. Okay. So, yes, Kansas State fan in the chat. I really don't like Kansas, but that is me personally. Well, that's true. Yeah. So, and I will say that in my personal experience, I've been to games at both now. And the Kansas State game I was at was not a particularly fun game to be at. It was actually Gary Patterson's last game at TCU. Miserable game, but I had a great time. Everyone in Manhattan was very hospitable. Certainly different than the online persona between TCU and Kansas State fans. There was a lot of vitriol there last season that got a little bit fun. And thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for the love. Yes, always appreciate people watching the videos. I mean, y'all are who I do it for. It's a fun hobby, and I really love that I can brighten up a little bit of y'all's days. That's really what makes me happy. So let's get back into it. Kansas, big win over Illinois. And moving forward to week 3, we'll talk about who they're going to get in a little bit. Now, let me talk for a moment, if I may, about this TCU Nicholls State game. Because I know there's only so much that you can glean from a game like that, from an FCS opponent. But I was very unimpressed with what I saw. And a lot of people in Amon Carter Stadium with me were equally unimpressed. Yes, it's a 41-6 win, but a lot of those points actually came late in the game. Really, if you look at it, at the halfway point of that game, that very well could have been a tie game if Nicholls State wasn't just completely trash. They were dropping a lot of balls. with wide open receivers with room to run. So the biggest concerns for me going into this Houston game as a TCU fan are we going to be able to get any pressure at all on defense? Because that murdered us against Colorado. Shedeur Sanders had all day to throw and carve up our defense. And also, is the offense going to be able to get into a groove, right? It took our offense against Nicholls State a long time to get rolling. We didn't even get our first offensive touchdown till the last minute of the first quarter. So something that's very concerning for me and going to be very interesting for those of you who are not in TCU's orbit to watch in that Houston game coming out this Saturday. Mike's asking, will I call into other live shows? Yes, I've been on Mark's show several times, most notably immediately after the Fiesta Bowl win. And I also, I'm close with Big 12 Mafia and Wild Ute. If any of y'all are in their orbit on Twitter or YouTube, you should definitely check out Big 12 Mafia's show. By the way, if you're into Big 12 football, he's a BYU fan, does great work over there. So yeah, I'm always open. Any show, I'm always open to join and come on. Okay, here's a good question. If Kansas and Kansas State are undefeated or one loss, then game day could go to Sunflower Showdown. Well, yes, I mean, obviously, and that's not a question. That's just a comment. But yes, I that's absolutely true. And they could be in that position. Going into the season, I was thinking that, that Kansas State, going into the season, I was thinking it would be between Kansas and Kansas State getting that second spot, or not Kansas and Kansas State, excuse me, TCU and Kansas State getting that second spot opposite of Texas in the Big 12 championship. So Kansas State could easily be in that position. It's balls in Kansas's court, if you could. Yes. Okay. So to Waffles, you did catch a little bit of that game. Not a lot to come away impressed. And we were very low energy as far as I thought. And again, you can only glean so much from these games. I mean, arguably the best TCU team of all time in 2014 farted around with Samford in our first game of the year. And I remember very specifically looking at my friends and be like, man, this is going to be a long year. We can't put away Samford, right? But, an FCS game is an FCS game, and we didn't play a lot of our receivers. So hopefully the Frogs show us all something against Houston, unless you're a Houston fan. Unless you're the Houston fan, I should say. Then maybe you're hoping that we don't, or maybe you just hate us. And yeah, okay, so Wet Blanket saying that Houston is garbage. You're an Oklahoma State fan. I mean, you say that, but they beat UTSA. Like, that's not a gimme. I mean, UTSA, at least for a lot of folks in Texas, if you're one like me who gets the Bible of Texas football, the Dave Campbell's Texas football, I mean, there was a lot of people high on Traylor's team going into this season. They had a really good year last year. They returned a lot of talent. I really thought they were going to beat Houston. So I personally was impressed that Houston was able to win that game in some gorgeous uniforms, by the way. The Love You Blue Oilers style uniforms. I mean, yeah, baby blue isn't one of Houston's colors, but those things look nice. Those things look really nice. Okay, Jackson, go ahead and crush my dreams. I don't see TCU having a 10-win season this season. I'm sorry to say. Although 8 or 9, yes. I was on the 8 or 9 train in July. I'm back on the 8 or 9 train now. When I was getting the, you know how we all feel in August. Hope springs eternal. And I visited a practice, and I was talking to people in the program. They're like, oh, there's so much talent on this team. We're deeper than we were a year ago. Like, there was a lot of hype going into that Colorado game. And so I was very much in the 10-win camp leading up to that Colorado game. Then things change, right? Colorado puts on that show. And it's our defense that has me the most concerned. Something that I thought was going to be a strength going into this season. Because you got so many guys coming back with a year under their belt and a new system in the 3-3 stack, right? And Joe Gillespie's 3-3-5. And all of a sudden, against Colorado, against Nicholls State, we can't get any pressure. We're playing off the ball. I mean, it's not looking good. I think a lot of us discounted how valuable Dylan Horton, the defensive end, was on last year's team as far as bringing pressure from 3-down linemen. Hopefully we can get that from Marcel Brooks now that he's healthy. But it remains to be seen. This is why we play the games, right? This is why we don't do it on paper. So who's going to master Clemsoning more this year? Clemson or TCU? Well, hey, Clemson's already got a hot start on us. I mean, losing to Duke, that's another level. At least Colorado's good, okay? Colorado, I think after that Nebraska game, we can all agree unequivocally that Colorado is a good football team, whether you like it or not. Okay. Duke, I mean, maybe they're bowl eligible, but I think Colorado beats Duke like 9 times out of 10, honestly. So, yeah. And I mean, here's the thing. How many of us honestly expected TCU to get back into the national championship this year? Last year was a magical season when we benefited from some really great luck in some circumstances and some really great leadership. And, you don't just have, there's not, Max Duggan's not walking back through that door. That's not to say that Chandler Morris isn't talented. I mean, he's probably more talented than Max is as a passer, but Max's intangibles and just willing that team over the finish line, it was just otherworldly. The fact that he didn't win the Heisman, total crime in my opinion. Okay. Yeah, so is my connection not really great because I'm in my garage right now. So I'm not obviously super close to the router. So do let me know if I'm fuzzy or if the stream isn't good. We can pause things and move to a different location. Will's disagreeing with me. Okay, he thinks Duke beats Colorado. All right, well, let's see it. Let's see him line up. Let's see what happens. Okay, so perfect segue. Best 0-2 team, Baylor or Texas Tech? Man, you want to talk about two teams that have had some rough luck early on this season. And, honestly, if you're from Fort Worth, you love to see it, right? But man alive, Tech was so close to beating Oregon. And, Wyoming's not a bad team. Losing to Wyoming in double overtime in Laramie, I mean, that's a game they should have won. But, Wyoming's not sitting there FCS. And also Baylor, I mean, they should have beaten Utah, quite frankly. I mean, far be it from me to feel bad for Baylor not getting a pass interference call on their home field in the fourth quarter. Frog fans know from 2014, right? But Tech, I mean, Oregon's a better team than Utah, I think, this year. And Tech really showed me something that in that game. They were in a position to win it, and Tyler Shuck just throws the awful interception. But it's going to be – the Butt Bowl is going to be an interesting one this year. Whenever we see Tech and Baylor square off, you have to think that Tech has the edge. Baylor's been sliding a little bit since that Sugar Bowl appearance. But, again, this is why we play the games, right? Okay, here's the truth from DeWaffles. A lot of deep hate for Colorado with K-State. Well, yeah, those of y'all who were around in the Big 8 days, see, I don't have the fuzziest, okay. I don't have the same hatred for Colorado that I know a lot of y'all Midwestern folks do. In fact, I was probably rooting for Colorado in a couple of Big 12 championships against Texas back in the mid-2000s. So there's that. Okay, yeah, we got some agreement in the chat. Texas Tech, the better 0-2 team. Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, they've got to be the best 0-2 team in the nation, right? Or certainly talent-wise, if nothing else. And yes, losing to Texas State, DeWaffles, is a cardinal sin. Now, I will tell you, though, look out for GJ Kinney. Okay, he's going to be building something down there. All right, you may be hearing some noise out of Sam Marcus in the coming years because that's a quality coach, a lot like Jeff Traylor. These are guys that came up through the Texas high school ranks. They got a lot of connections recruiting-wise and good coaches. So, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last we hear from Texas State stealing the win over somebody that we feel they shouldn't get. Let's see what else happened last week. So we talked about Baylor going up in flames like a Branch Davidian compound that's run afoul of a minor government agency. We talked about Texas Tech. Okay, here we go. Let me put on my Kansas State hat here. Well, actually, which I literally have. So that win against Troy. All right, that showed me something. Okay, a lot of people may look at that and be like, "Oh, who cares? It's another nobody, right? It's another whatever opponent." That Troy team is not a bad program at all. Okay, so to beat them 42-13, and those of you who watched that game, Kansas State fans, it was a little bit close there early on, right? Troy was keeping step until Kansas State starts to pull away. That's something that you should absolutely not be ashamed of, right? That's a good win right there. Now, this week is the big one, right? Getting Mizzou again. Oh my gosh, it's been way too long, right? That's when you're really going to get to show something. And that's a game, again, that Kansas State should win. They should be favored in that game, and they should win it, I believe, fairly comfortably. I believe they'll cover the spread, which we'll get to in a minute. But, got a nice little ramp up to the season here after that Troy win, and seeing what you can do against the Tigers. Okay, but we need to talk about Iowa State. All right. Iowa State, who actually surprised me. I'll take off my Kansas State hat. Actually surprised me with beating UNI, which shouldn't be surprising, right? But after all of their drama with the gambling situation, losing so many players, UNI has not been a gimme in the past. So I come into this Iowa game full of fools thinking, okay, this is the year that Iowa State goes back to back. They both lost people. Clearly, Iowa State has a little more juice than I thought, right? That new quarterback they got in there playing pretty well. And, same old, same old. I hope that y'all are actually still seeing me, by the way. I'm a little concerned about my connection, which is unstable. Okay. So, you know what? I'll tell you what. If I can let me pause myself, get myself to a slightly better position. It's going to be a less exciting background, but we'll get a little bit better connection for you. So bear with me, folks. All right, and we're back. So a little bit less exciting backdrop, but I moved into the house now, so we got a lot better connection. Like I said, first live stream. We're working out the kinks here a little bit, so I really appreciate y'all's patience. Appreciate y'all sticking with me. Yes, intermission time. I needed the Monty Python music. Okay, so we were talking about Iowa State, El Assico, right? And Trump was in attendance, which was very fun for everyone involved. Did y'all catch any of those images of him throwing the footballs at the fraternity party and then getting flipped off in the stand? American politics is fun. So anyway, Iowa State drops the game to Iowa. All is back to normal in the land of the Hawkeyes. And we'll see if Iowa State, we'll see if they've won their last against UNI, if they're going to be able to rebound from that, or if they will indeed end up in the basement of the Big 12. I mean, all the love in the world to my West Virginia brethren. I got a lot of friends who I've made on the interwebs here who are West Virginia fans. But it's a race to the bottom, I think, between them and Iowa State this year. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. Okay, thank you so much, Will. Yes, and I apologize. I was trying to go for the aesthetics, but we didn't have the connection. So maybe I can get an Ethernet cable here before the next show, and maybe we'll be a little bit better off out there in the garage. So let's look back at what else was going on last week. Okay, yeah. let's talk a little bit about Oklahoma SMU. Okay. I don't want to spend too much undue time on those who happen to be leaving the conference, but all the drama came at the end of this game. Now, Oklahoma winning 28-11, that was something that surprised me a little bit, right? It surprised me not that so much that Oklahoma was able to, well, actually, no. There's two things that surprised me. It surprised me that Oklahoma was able to limit SMU to 11 points. Would you chill out? Now I'm inside with my dog, of course. Come here. Surprised me that Oklahoma was able to limit SMU to 11 points. But it also surprised me that they were only able to score 28 points, right? That's the one thing that you expect. Oklahoma's going to be able to put up some points against SMU's defense. But Oklahoma comes out with the win. And then there's the drama with Jeff Lebby, right? And this is just something that, you know, if you're going to make that kind of a hiring decision, you can't be surprised when this sort of thing occurs. All right, let me let my dog outside because she's freaking out. All right. So, yes, the Jeff Lebby, we all saw the press conference. We all saw the outrage. And as a TCU fan who was not particularly happy about my school's choice to hire a certain member of that family, Oklahoma is dealing with similar fallout as well. So, yeah. It was wild to watch play out on Twitter. You're totally right, Waffles. Absolutely. I was actually surprised at how many people were so firmly against, right? Usually you see a lot of people like coming to the defense, but maybe this is what factors into that. Well, we only scored 28 thing. So I'm not going to defend this guy today because my team's not doing as good as I wanted him to do. All right. I've avoided it for, I think, as long as I can. No, you know what? I'll avoid it a little bit longer. Sorry about UCF. Do we have any UCF fans in the chat today? Or is it just K-Staters and Oklahoma Staters? Yeah, no UCF fans. That's okay. But what a win against Boise State. I mean, Boise State isn't the Boise State of old. They're not the Boise State of the 2000s and early 2010s with Kellen Moore and the guys who came before. But it is no small task to go into Boise and get a win. I mean, my junior year at TCU, so when I was in school, I was an equipment manager for the football team. So I got to be a part of a lot of great seasons. And my junior year was the year we went up to Boise State and stole that win, getting us the Mountain West Championship. And it is a tough place to play, not the least of which because of that crazy blue turf. It's just such a foreign environment. And when you're UCF playing there at night with a rowdy crowd and Boise, like, how is this even legal? They're wearing entirely blue uniforms on a blue field. I mean, miss me with all of that. But UCF's able to steal the win on a massive kick there at the end of the game. And in spite of the issues that they've got moving forward, losing their quarterback, I mean, that's definitely a good momentum builder for the Knights. No Disney fans for Central Florida. I'll carry the Disney Parks fan banner for them since they're not in here. I tell you what, man, they're an evil corporation. They're trying to take over the world, but dang it if they haven't made some incredible films in the past, and they got some very fun parks. So, yeah, you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and then you have the facts of life. Facts of life. And I totally agree with you, Waffles. Wearing blue on a blue field, like, it's rough. It's rough. How are you even going to keep track? Like, can you even imagine, like, trying to keep track of where a safety is downfield if you're a quarterback? Blending in with this blue field. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. Oklahoma State getting the win against Arizona State. No small task, okay? Arizona State, I mean, yes, they've got the bowl ban. They've got not a lot that they're playing for theoretically, but I don't know if any of y'all caught what their head coach was saying. I mean, he's getting his kids motivated, and it's not like they don't have some talent on that team. So playing in Tempe, where I believe it was like over 100 degrees until like well into the second half. Obviously, it's a different heat than we're dealing with in Texas, where there's a lot more humidity, but 100 degrees is 100 degrees. Impressed to see Oklahoma State go in there and come out with the win, because Oklahoma State's another team that what do you expect going into the season? They lost so much to the transfer portal, and they replaced some of those pieces in theory, but how are they all going to gel together? How is it all going to work? And so far, so good for Mike Gundy. I mean, that's definitely not a win to sneeze at. Let's see what else we got going on here. Oh yeah, Gus's reaction to the kick was prime meme material. Hey, Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn. Yes, he absolutely prime meme material. He's like, whew, okay, that paid off. But yeah, huge moment for UCF there. Let's see. Yeah, Jets. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? Well, hey, can you imagine being a Jets fan? Period. Uh, much less under the circumstances of losing Aaron Rodgers. There's some crazy fan reaction videos out there after that game. Losing Aaron Rodgers after what, 4 plays? Oh my gosh. I will. So, hey, confession time. Here's what I got. So, obviously, growing up a TCU fan, LT is my favorite athlete of all time. I love LaDainian Tomlinson. So, for a couple of years there where I was in college, I mean, I've always been a Cowboys fan, right? And I've been a Chargers fan. I've carried on my Chargers fandom after LT left, but I was rooting for the Jets there for a couple of years. Well, LT was with the Jets, and that was an experience. I'll tell you that. At least they were making the playoffs, or they made the playoffs one of those 2 years. But yeah, that's a taste of that where you're like, yeah, I don't think some people are just built different to be able to root for the Jets for a lifetime. Yeah, hey, Waffles, good point. Gunny's a very good coach. Yeah, don't write him off until the second half of the season. Yeah, that's whenever they play Oklahoma for the last time, Lord knows that's probably not going to go the way that everyone wants it to go. Yeah, okay. Can't believe Arizona State kept going for it on 4th down. That's what cost them the game. Yeah, I mean, and they were playing to win. You got to give them that at least. I do like the move by a lot of coaches to punt less and go for it more, but there's still some times where you're like, bro, this is not the situation. Like, you got to be smart. You got to play the field position game sometimes. Absolutely. Oh, John, thank you so much for chiming in. Look forward to hearing you talking about K-State on several occasions. Yes, absolutely. Hey, there's going to be plenty of opportunity this year to talk about K-State. I'm sure of that. And hey, here's the thing. I mean, I think everyone's expecting K-State to be good this year, but it is going to be a statement for, like, if K-State gets back to the Big 12 championship, which they very well could, it's going to be a statement because you don't just replace King Felix and Deuce Vaughn and, oh my God, y'all are going to kill me, but Kurt Warner's kid and Knowles, that wide receiver. I mean, Will Howard, to me, he's the best quarterback in the Big 12. Sorry, Quinn Ewers. Will Howard's the best quarterback in the Big 12. But my big question going into this year is like, okay, yes, and he's going to have a great line, but who are his playmakers? Who's he giving the ball to, right? And those guys are starting to emerge. We're going to learn a lot against Mizzou. We learned a little bit against Troy, but we're going to learn a lot against Mizzou this week. And I hope it is. I hope it is Cats by 90. Screw the SEC. Screw Mizzou. Those levers. Okay. Speaking of K-State, any of the current Big 12 coaches on Michigan State shortlist. Okay, so I don't have any inside information, Brian, but I would have to assume if I'm Michigan State that Chris Kleiman and Lance Leipold are at the top of my list. I mean, how could they not be, right? Chris Kleiman has built Kansas State in a very short time into a strong contender, right? I mean, just taking it to TCU in the first game that they lost, and then obviously beating TCU in the Big 12 championship, Kendry scored. I'm sorry. He did. Kendry scored. But beating TCU in the Big 12 championship, and here we go. We're reloading already again. I mean, there's a reason this dude won a bajillion national championships at North Dakota State. There's a reason. He's good at his job, right? If I'm Michigan State, he's the first guy I'm looking at. And if you can't pry him away, Lance Leipold. Again, what a turnaround job. Nobody has done anything close to this with Kansas since the Mangino days, right? So what was that? 07, right? When Kansas was in the Orange Bowl. That's my short list. I don't know what Michigan State's looking at or if they're going to go the MAC route. Remains to be seen. So Kansas State's clinging to the old, this is what TCU used to do in the Gary Patterson days, right? You get 3-star recruits, turn them into 5-star players, right? Development. And it's impressive that they've been able to develop guys quick enough to reload after the guys that they lost last year. Okay. Yeah. And I agree with you, Waffles. Yeah, K-State, you got a lot more. But, Michigan State, when I think Michigan State, I think lunch pail type. I feel like without ever having been there, my assumption is that it's a similar culture Or it would be, if it isn't already, it'd be easy to build a lunch pail blue collar culture like Kansas State, like North Dakota State. I mean, when what's his name? D'Antonio. When D'Antonio was there, I mean, yeah. So we played Michigan State my senior year at TCU and lost in the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, RIP Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. And that was a defense first, run heavy, smash mouth, don't make a lot of mistakes type team, right? I think you could easily build that at Michigan State. But hey, Kansas State, I hope for Kansas State's sake that Kleiman doesn't go anywhere. I mean, selfishly, I hope he does because I don't want to have to deal with y'all, right? But for y'all's sake, I hope he doesn't go anywhere because he's a fantastic coach. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about that Texas-Alabama game. And I really want to hear from y'all's thoughts on Texas-Alabama, because here's what I think. Yes, Texas deserves its moment in the sun for beating Alabama. It's great. You did it. You finally got over the hump. You beat a really big name team. All right. Now, does that mean you're guaranteed a spot in the Big 12 title game? Heck no. Okay. So you better put out those victory cigars that you're smoking after a week 2 game, which whose decision was that, by the way? But, in Alabama, you look at Alabama, and are they a good team? Of course, right? They've got a great defense. They don't have a quarterback right now. All right. This is a dynasty that has been on its way out the door ever since Georgia finally got over the hump and won that first national title. Not first, but first since the 80s, 2 years ago, right? Georgia is very much cementing themselves as the new Bama in the SEC, that new, just like untouchable power. All right. And Bama seems to be fading a little bit. And Texas has taken advantage of that. Now, again, I want to give Texas some props. Like, that's a big win in Tuscaloosa. That's not an easy thing to do. But I don't think Alabama is as good as a lot of us are thinking that they are, just because of the recent history, because of the name, right? Because of the numbers on the helmets, because of Nick Saban prowling the sidelines. Okay. And until the very end of that game, when Texas, pulls away very quick, I mean, that was a close game. Alabama was just within striking distance the whole time. And I still don't think so. Okay. And full disclosure, I watched most of that game on someone's phone who was sitting in front of me at the TCU game. But what I saw was the same stuff that I've seen as long as Quinn Ewers has been playing at Texas. He's very inaccurate at times. And when there's any kind of pressure on him, dude cannot make a good decision. He's literally incapable of it. If you put pressure on Quinn Ewers, which, please God in heaven, let TCU figure out its pressure situation before Texas comes to Fort Worth. Oh, my Lord. Right? If you put pressure on him, he is clueless. He doesn't know what to do. Now, he can hurl a deep ball, and he's got really athletic receivers who can find it. I think that's what you saw on 2 of those touchdowns. He just kind of hurled up a rainbow, and you got those receivers just tracking it down. He's not him, okay? To borrow what the kids are saying, Quinn Ewers is not him. So I mean, oh my God, how funny would it be if Wyoming finds a way to beat Texas this week after they're on this high from Alabama? Oh my gosh, please let that happen. Please let Texas lose to Alabama. Okay, let's see what y'all are saying. Texas is winning. Yes, okay. So I picked Alabama to win that game. I wouldn't say shocked, but I mean, definitely, they're all screaming they're back. This is what they've been waiting for, an opportunity to say they're back. But is this going to end up being like that time they beat Notre Dame and whatever terrible year that was that they ended up having? I mean, Texas's problem has never been that they don't have enough talent. They literally have their pick of the litter of every single – it's the same as A&M, right? Every single top recruit in Texas that they want, they can get. All right? They've got the money for it. Even before NIL was legal, they had the money for it, right? But that's not been the problem. I mean, that's not the reason that A&M's getting embarrassed by Miami. Right? It's because they don't have the culture. They don't have the want to, right? They don't have the work ethic in place that a lot of these Kansas States and TCUs have had in place. Okay, let's see what else. As long as Texas keeps on the gas pedal and the boosters' money out the players' pockets, then they'll make it the Big 12 title. I mean, yeah. So here's the thing. Especially after this Alabama win, anything short of a Big 12 title and a playoff appearance, I think is a failure at Texas. I think if you don't do it this year, with the Big 12 being as wide open as it is, and Quinn Ewers having experience under his belt, and the roster being as talented as it is, if you don't do it this year, You better take a long look in the mirror, right? Long look in the mirror. All right, well, what surprised me is that Texas dominated both lines of scrimmage. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the plays, and that's the thing, right? Quinn Ewers kept his jersey clean. So he was able to make a lot of those deep throws and convert a lot of those plays that we're talking about. Oh, isn't it the truth, Waffles? Not the same team that Kansas faced in the Sugar Bowl last season. And hey, Bryce Young is a big piece of that, right? This kid who playing quarterback at Alabama is nowhere near the level of talent that they've had at quarterback the last multiple years, right? Or at least he's not refined enough yet. So yeah, and I mean, man, I hated to see that. Like, I wanted Kansas State to win that Sugar Bowl. Believe me, I mean, like, I'm rooting for Big 12 most of the time, as long as it's not Texas or Baylor. I'm rooting for the Big 12, and that's definitely a tale of two teams right there. Alabama being sub 500 and Vandy over 500 by week 3 is something I did not punch in my bingo card. Yeah, hey, but that's why we play the games. That's why we love this crazy mixed up sport. Okay, so we've been going here for about 40 minutes. Let's do a quick whip around of week 3 games. Get some predictions in. I want to hear from y'all, all 6 of you. I see you out there now tuning with me with my crystal clear connection with these lovely decorative blinds behind me. I want to hear your predictions. All right. We'll screenshot them. We'll keep receipts. Okay. So next week, whenever we do this next Tuesday, we can say, oh my God, Waffles was so wrong about, I don't know, the backyard brawl, what a perfect time to switch hats. Let's put on the West Virginia hat. Let's talk about the backyard brawl. Oh my God, a game why don't we play this game every year? Oh my gosh, like realignment. I love seeing the Big 12 thrive. I love seeing us tear apart the Pac-12, especially after they were so abhorrent on social media and so high and mighty. But the loss of these regional rivalry games, I want the backyard brawl in my life. I want Kansas, Mizzou in my life. I want these games that we don't get anymore. And I get so excited. I mean, how fun was that backyard brawl last year, right? It's a totally fun game. Hopefully we get a slight repeat this year as far as the excitement, but a little bit different results. So, Waffles. Yeah. Hey, you know what? If you make a bad pick, so here's the deal. At my school where I teach, I'm the commissioner of a fantasy football league and a pick'em league for the teachers. And that's like literally what I do every Monday is I just like put everyone's picks on blast, myself included, and just like make fun of everybody. And it's literally, everyone's like, this is like my favorite thing on a Monday, to open up the email and like see who Clint's making fun of for their picks, for picking A&M against Miami or whoever it is. So yes, Waffles, I will. That is my promise to you, that I will absolutely put you on blast if you make a dumb pick. Hey, and I'll give you your props if you make a good one. How about that? All right. It'll go both ways. I would love to see it. West Virginia wins in the most white knuckle way possible. They can do it, man. They can. Listen, I was not expecting them to put up as much of a fight against Penn State as they did, and that's only about a 2-touchdown game without that garbage time touchdown that Penn State, insisted on scoring to make it look more respectable. Penn State's a dang good team. And West Virginia, if they care that much about a Penn State, which is a similar level of hatred, I feel. I mean, I'm not of Morgantown. I'm not of the moonshine, right? So I can't personally speak to this, but I would assume you want to beat Pitt just as bad, if not worse, than you want to beat Penn State. And you got them in Morgantown now. You got the couches burning. You got the people riled up. You got everyone excited. This is your moment, West Virginia. This is your moment to keep Neil Brown for another season. They're saying, oh God, we better lose. We got to lose right now, right? We cannot let that happen. But hey, I think, yes, I agree with Waffles. This is, I'm thinking like, let's see, what's the line on this game? Let me look back at it here. The line is Pitt -1. Oh my God. So Vegas agrees. And Will said both teams are dumpster fires. I think it's a 50-50 game. Vegas agrees. All right. Give me West Virginia. Give me West Virginia in that game. I'm thinking like 17-16. All right. Just flip that one. Okay. Get some wild holding Pitt to field goals, right? Something wild at the end of the game where West Virginia comes out on top. They should have won that game last year. I think they come out on top this year. Let's see. Yes. Vax. Okay, Vax. Yes, I'm live. Here I am. Hooray! And we're previewing West Virginia again. Put your predictions in the chat. All right. I want to put you on blast, or I want to be able to be like, Waffles champion. Look at this guy. He's making the right picks. Okay, let's move on to Kansas State. All right, the other game I'm super excited about besides TCU's game, we're getting Mizzou back on the schedule, getting some of that Big 12 revenge. Although, thanks for leaving Mizzou, opened the door for the Frogs. Do love you for that. But hey, I think Kansas State can win this game comfortably. I really do. Waffles, I know you agree with me. I want to hear what other people think. I want to hear some impartial third parties with no particular interest in the matter. Hear what you think about it. But the line for this one is Kansas State -5. I think Kansas State covers that. I really do. It is in Mizzou, so who cares? Kansas State's played in tougher environments than that. They're going to play in tougher environments than that. Give me Kansas State by 10. Honestly, I think. So sue me. And please remind me of this if it doesn't end up happening next week. Okay, Brian agrees. Kansas State 31-21, 10 points. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Kansas State, they're playing well. They've got talent on this team. They've reloaded. They got a heck of a coach. Way better than Drinkowitz. Are you kidding me? Yeah, Kansas State, this is a great opportunity for can you really call it a statement win when it's Mizzou? When it's a bottom of the barrel SEC team? I guess just because of the patch on the logo, the patch on the jersey, you can say it's a statement win. But yeah, let me get Kansas State getting a little bit of Sugar Bowl revenge against the SEC. Okay, so we got a couple more West Virginia Pitt predictions. We'll pause. We'll go back to these. Okay, Brian. All right, where do your loyalties lie, Brian? Pitt 28, West Virginia 27. So he's sticking with the line, -1 on Pitt. All right, we're going to remember this one on you, Brian. West Virginia losing to Pitt. Do I have any Mountaineers in the chat? I thought I had so many Mountaineer friends, but apparently they're not showing up tonight. I guess it was the bad connection in the garage. They only just got internet there last week, didn't they? Joey, I hope you're watching. Okay, so back to the KSU predictions. KSU drags Mizzou. Absolutely, man. It's like it's big because of the history. It's big because of the names. It's going to be a statement win for Kansas State. Absolutely. 48-17. Man, hey, I hope so. I like your confidence, Vax. I really do. I hope that's what they're able to pull off. Okay, let's see what Will's thinking. West Virginia beats Pitt 24-21. Kansas State 24-17 over Mizzou. Okay, yeah, I could see both those happening. I don't see West Virginia. Okay, that West Virginia Pitt game, it's going to be no more than a 3-point game, regardless of the side. I think it's going to be West Virginia out on top. I think it's going to be some funky score, less than 20. I think I said 17-16. But I guarantee you, no one's going to win that game by a touchdown. It's going to be a field goal or less that somebody wins that game. Kansas State raises the bar with former Big 12 members. Okay, yes, absolutely. Because why not? Why wouldn't he make them pay? Like, screw those guys. Come on. Like, Texas is never going to play another one of us ever again. They're never going to play TCU again. They've lost freaking 8 games in the last 12 years. They're like, yeah, we've had enough of that. We'd rather lose to Alabama. Thanks. Pulling out the big water jug. I've been talking a lot. Okay. All right, Vax, what you got? West Virginia have to wait until Squirrel with the Wi-Fi on it to walk by. Yeah. Hey, man, maybe I need one of those. Honestly, if I want to film out in the garage, I need a little mobile Wi-Fi rodent situation. Okay, Waffles coming with the history. Bleeding Kansas involves the towns Mizzou, Missouri State, Kansas State, and Pittsburgh State. It's the reason why both states genuinely hate each other. Yeah, a lot of stuff goes back to the Civil War, doesn't it? We love fighting over the 3/5 compromise and slavery, and at least now it's college football related. At least it's not people's lives and their status as citizens anymore. Bleeding Kansas is wild. Hey, listen, those of y'all who aren't history buffs, do a little research into Bleeding Kansas. It's a wild chapter in United States history. Very wild. Even by Civil War standards, I think. Okay. What else is on the schedule? Hey, let's talk about the Frogs, don't we? We've talked about this Houston game just a little bit. Frogs heading down south to H-Town. Going to try and take on these Cougars, all right? Missing their fingers and all of that good stuff. I think it's a TCU win. I have not decided yet if it's going to be a comfortable win. If it is a comfortable win, I'm going to feel a lot better about the rest of the season. If it's not a comfortable win, I'm going to feel just the same way as I've been feeling the last 2 weeks ever since that Colorado game went final. I think that both teams are going to put up points. I think our defense is not going to impress me once again. Let me say Frogs 45 to 31. Okay, I'm gonna say 45-31. Let me even check the line. I don't even know what the line is. We are favored by 7.5. Okay, that might actually. Oh, speaking of Frogs, hold up. Let me get this guy in here. So, back from my TCU days, some of y'all may know this guy, Chris Gardner, former TCU player and comedian. I believe you got a show tonight, right, Chris?
Yeah, I'm actually about to head to the Improv now. I'm a little behind, but they'll be okay. When you've made it to the level of I've made it right under Eddie Murphy, then they wait.
100%. 100%. So, Chris, KG, we were just talking about the TCU Houston game this week. What are your thoughts about this game?
I'm gonna get set up here. There we go. I'm excited, to be honest with you. I'm not gonna lie. I may have been one of the more negative fans from the first TCU game. I'm gonna own that. Yes, it was me. It was. But last game, it kind of gave me a glimpse into maybe what possibly could be. Oh, sorry. I don't know if I gave you a good show there. It gave us a glimpse.
Hey, it's the first live stream, Chris. We've been
there we go. We'll figure this out. All right. So maybe it gave us an indication that something may change. Like there's a corner that may change somewhere. But it's just when you've been with a fan base that has been enjoying great defense for 20 years.
Yeah.
And we know what good defense looks like. And then to bring us not good defense, even though we win games, that's not what we like. You know what I mean? You can't make the Pittsburgh Steelers would never love a high scoring offense and bad defense. It's not what they ever gonna like. That's not their fabric. That's not their makeup, and that's us as well.
Yeah.
But I've seen us run the ball more last game, so I've seen us play a little better defense, a little more assignment. Now, Nickel State is probably not the best measuring stick, but maybe a few of those mistakes were changed. They said the biggest jump, like as far as success goes, is in between week 1 and week 2 throughout your whole season will be your biggest jump. And so we did see a better showing. It wasn't as dominant as we're used to. And I think that's kind of throwing us off. Last year's team was unbelievably talented. And so for us to have that same expectation for a team that may not be as talented, but still has talent. This is an 8-win minimum team to me. That's my number was 8-4.
Any less than that, it's a disappointment for TCU.
Exactly. There you go. Period. No matter what. And so Houston Cougars this weekend, maybe a fan base a little more toxic than we are at the moment. We're toxic for like the bougie, the first world problems kind of toxic. Oh, you didn't blow everybody out. Okay, but fair, Houston's in a we just lost to Rice. Why is he still coaching kind of toxic situation? And so maybe we should appreciate where we're at, appreciate the problems that we have and what they have. So I think TCU goes into Houston Saturday. I think they're pissed off because they lost to Rice, of course. But I don't know how much of a team they're playing right now. As a team they're playing right now. So I think Houston. I think TCU should be favored. Are we favored with the line? We probably
7.5. 7.5.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see us 10 points. 50. I think, to be honest with you, this might be the game TCU shows that hey, we're not that bad. Like
I would love that.
Yeah, I would too. But put it this way: if we don't, I think we're going to have problems. If TCU loses this game, or if TCU comes out and doesn't play great, I think with the state that Houston is in and with the state that we're in, it will frustrate a lot of people. It will frustrate. It will validate. I don't want to say validate all the way because the season's not over with. But it'll kind of give more coals to those fires. They'll be able to get it hotter. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
or logs or whatever you put on a fire. I don't know what they put on a fire. I
Been
haven't
that
done fire
long?
in a long time. Yeah.
Bro, okay. So, and I was actually thinking about this the other day in my commiserating about how I wasn't happy enough about what we did against Nicholls State. Last year, the first 3 games of last year, I mean, we won all those games, but we didn't look good in any of those games. So I'm hoping like maybe this is just a Sonny Dykes thing where we got to find our footing the first 3 weeks.
Every new
And
team is a
then
new
we start to
identity.
turn on the Jets,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with Chris Gardner, former linebacker for TCU, he was there back in my day, back in the late 2000s, early teens. Bro, we're getting old. What happened?
I was just about to say, why you say it like way back in the late 2000s?
But he's in the comedy scene now. So if any of y'all live in DFW, definitely check out KG's stuff. By the way, make sure you're plugging your socials, KG, so everyone knows where to follow.
Oh, yeah, follow me you can follow me on everything. It's at KRG Funny across the board, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at KRG Funny. I'm on tour right now. The It's All About Me tour. We got Birmingham, Alabama on Thursday. We have LA in 2 weeks after that. And so we're hopefully coming to a city near you. If you have a chance to come out, please come out, man. At KRG Funny. Thank you, Clint, for allowing me to come on here and kind of express it. Because I talk a lot to my wife, but she don't listen.
Same, right? She's like, "Are you talking about football again?" She's like, "Football again? You got to do
about
this
TCU
over again."
Specifically, yeah.
Oh my God! Any other games you got your eye on this week, Chris? Before I let you go.
Wait, who is playing? I don't even know.
So we got West Virginia Pitt, which we were talking about a second ago. Kansas State, Missouri, BYU, Arkansas. That could get interesting.
Yeah.
And Wyoming has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever and beat Texas and Austin. Like, please.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Please let that happen.
I do want to see how they play after that game against Alabama. I'm definitely interested in that. And then obviously the West Virginia Pittsburgh, which a lot of people in the country, if you're not a super big sports fan from that part of the country, you don't understand. That's a brawl game. It's a SMU TCU kind of game right there. And you know what? I'm always going to watch Kansas State because, to be honest with you, Kansas State is the champions of the Big 12, the reigning champions. That's who my biggest worry about.
Hashtag not my champions.
Yeah, right. Because we did beat them in the regular season. So anyway, but just the fact that I love the way they play. So I'll watch Kansas State every time. Kansas State's like a version of us, and so I enjoy it.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'll let you go, bro. I know you're getting ready for this show, but I appreciate you hopping on with us.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Go Frogs. Go Frogs.
We'll have a lot more KG on here in the future, so y'all should definitely look out for that. Follow him, KRG Funny. Okay, let's talk about this Arkansas BYU game. All right. So, Brian, I think you're right. I think Arkansas should be favored in this game if they are not. Let me go. Okay, so yeah, Arkansas is the 8-point favorite in this game. BYU, I'm going to be interested to see how they respond in this game because BYU is another one where that Zach Wilson year notwithstanding, you kind of know what to expect from them. They're usually about that 8-9 win, 7-8-9 win area, right? They're going to have some really big offensive linemen. They're going to have some really big defensive linemen. And if they got a great quarterback, well, then look out. They're probably going to beat some people that they shouldn't beat. But this Arkansas game, I do agree. I think Arkansas wins specifically because you want to talk about not being impressed by an FCS game. BYU beating Sam Houston 14-0. I don't think gave anyone in BYU land good feels, right? So we'll see how they do. But I think Arkansas, you have to be thinking Arkansas on this one. Hope that Texas gets rolled in Big 12 play. You know what, Max? They really could. I mean, they got an easy schedule, way easier than they by right should have. Hold up. This is important. Let's look up the Texas schedule because I know that the Frogs have them. I'm pretty sure K-State has them. Y'all can correct me. Texas schedule. We're doing things on the fly here today. So they got Wyoming. That should be a W. Baylor W. September 30th. The real test, okay? Hey, some of y'all may know that's when Kansas comes to town, okay? Look out, buddy. Bro. Oh, my God. So, I mean, as much as I would love for like TCU to be the only team that beats Texas, and oh my god, it looks so good. I mean, come on, like I want them to lose every game this year. And oh my god, how funny would it be if Kansas came in and like Texas's last year in the Big 12 and beats them again? Oh, let it happen. They could lose the OU game. That's a losable game. Houston, that's a win. BYU, that's probably a win, even though BYU's beaten them in the past. They do have Kansas State. Oh my god, y'all. Okay. They got Kansas State and TCU in back-to-back weeks. They're not coming out of that. They're not coming out of that 2 weeks 2-0. There's no way. No way. Kansas State and TCU have both had their number way too much in the past, and those are two good teams. They're not coming out of that 2-0. Okay, yes. So Texas could very easily catch like three. Like there is a world where Texas beats Alabama and loses 3 Big 12 games and doesn't even make it to the Big 12 title game. Lord in heaven, hear our prayer. Let's see it happen. Okay. Oh, and Waffles is already projecting. He's already predicting it. Okay, Waffles, I got you. Wyoming 24-21. Hey, I hope you are right, man. I hope you're right. It'd be literally, I would cackle for 24 hours straight. It would be uncontrollable. Oh, shoot. Tony's up in here. Tony Altamore up in the chat. Hey, we love to see all friends of the channel. BYU for sure going to give Arkansas a fight, but BYU might take the L in the fourth quarter. Yeah, okay, I can see that happening. I don't know. I kind of agree with what Brian was saying. I think it'll be a little bit more comfortable for Arkansas. They got a lot of athleticism on that team. I mean, things have, as Waffles put it, it's been a while since I was in college. I mean, Waffles was in middle school, for God's sake. But back in my day, BYU couldn't handle super athletic teams very well. That was one of the reasons why TCU was able to get their number our last 3-4 years in the Mountain West, was because we had a lot of speed and they had a lot of big guys that weren't very fast, right? And, Arkansas is going to have guys that are big and fast. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Arkansas has been on the upswing under Sam Pittman. I think that they could win this one by a touchdown or more. Okay, yes. Brian, yes. Okay. That's what's going to happen. We know. Let us have our fun, okay? This is the biggest 12. We're not trying to win any, rocket surgery contests around here. We're just trying to have some fun. All right. We know that's what's going to happen. We know you're going to be right, but we all want Waffles to be right. Let's be honest. Okay, here we go. If Kansas beats Texas, that'll destroy the AP. Yes, it will. And it could happen. That could happen. And it would be so magical. Okay, well, one of your friends is a huge Arkansas fan. They want their revenge. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yes, okay. Put that on another W in Arkansas column. Yeah, the Razorbacks are going to win that one. Okay, so what other games? We got to do our quick whip around. I know we've been going for an hour now, so we got to wrap this thing up. My wife should be getting home from work any second now, asking about dinner. I know y'all probably got lives to get back to. Let me get my list pulled back up here. All right, a lot of gimmies, right? You got Texas Tech playing Tarleton State. Cincinnati versus Miami. I believe that's an old rivalry game, but one that Cincinnati should win pretty handily. They're 14-point favorites there. We got Oklahoma State, South Alabama. Should be a comfortable win. Knocking on wood. Kansas, Nevada. Kansas is a 28-point favorite in a football game. Y'all, let's let that sink in a little bit. Kansas is a 28-point favorite. Good for them, man. And they should be. Against Nevada. They're not squat right now. UCF should beat Villanova. Oklahoma should beat Tulsa. They're another 28-point favorite there. Baylor should get that first win against Long Island, the Long Island Sharks. Okay. And here's another one. This is another under-the-radar interesting game if you want like El Assico Part 2, just a comedy of errors. Iowa State taking on Ohio. The Cyclones are 3-point favorites against the Bobcats. Ohio, I don't know. This is actually at Ohio. Why Iowa State? What are you doing? Why are you doing this to yourself? Going to University of Ohio for a game. Oh man, do they make it out with a win? I don't know, chat. I don't know. Is Iowa State going to pull that one off? You have to hope so. You have to think so. But I thought they beat Iowa, and that didn't turn out. So we'll see. We'll see what that new quarterback's got. See if he can pull some magic out of his sleeve and get the Cyclones a win. Well, y'all, thank y'all so much for chilling out with me tonight. This is going to be an every Tuesday situation moving forward. So be here or be square. 6 o'clock. I'm shooting for 6 o'clock every Tuesday. Okay, as God is my witness. I'm gonna get home from practice just as soon as I can. Try and get myself showered next time. So that's my promise to you. And we'll get more hats in the mix because representation matters. Hashtag representation matters. And we'll talk about the week that was and the week that's fixing to be. And again, if I have any Frog fans watching me right now, Purple Menace podcast reunion coming up next week. Toad Talk reunion. Billy Wessel's in the house, former editor for TCU Rivals, guy that's not necessarily plugged into the program anymore, but got a lot of football knowledge and a lot of love for the game, just like me. Going to be ready to talk some Big 12 sports. So thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, which I feel like if you're watching this live stream, that's probably the only reason you're watching this live stream is because you're subscribed to my channel. But it's Clint Foster on YouTube at Clint Foster Comedy. Share it with your friends. Save a life. Show them a dumb Big 12 sketch. We can all do it, right? Let's make America laugh together about this crazy, old, wonderful, insane, mixed up sport that we love. We dedicate like 13 Saturdays of our life every single year to watching some 18-year-olds run around a field and hit each other and, put way too much emotional stock in it. Aren't we wonderful human beings? Thank you again so much for joining. Hey, and next week, I'm going to try and figure out this Wi-Fi situation, okay? It's going to be a lot less janky, I promise you. So until then, this has been the Biggest 12. Thank you so very much, and I will see you next week. We'll play the outro. But we are against those thugs. Peace out, y'all. Have a great week. Go Big 12.